The cry pierced the night air of New York City like a knife through Emmanuel's heart. He had just left his family's apartment in Brooklyn after another brutal argument with his father about his sexuality. At 19, Emmanuel was tired of hiding who he was, but the pressure to conform was crushing him. In the dimly lit alley behind the bodega where he worked, he found the source of the cry, a small baby girl, wrapped in a thin blanket inside a cardboard box, her face scrunched up in distress. Without a second thought, he picked her up and rushed to the nearest hospital, his mind racing with fear and determination. The doctors said she was healthy, but abandoned no ID, no clues except a locket with the name Sophia engraved. Emmanuel stayed by her side, feeling an instant bond, knowing this decision would cost him everything. Hours later, as the hospital lights buzzed overhead, he dialed the only person he trusted completely. Dominic answered on the second ring, his voice calm and steady like always. Emmanuel whispered the words that changed both their lives. "I found a baby, Dom, and I think I am keeping her." Dominic arrived at the hospital within 20 minutes, his tall frame filling the doorway, his kind eyes locking onto Emmanuel with that mix of worry and love they had kept secret for 6 months. They sat together in the quiet waiting room, Dominic holding Emmanuel's hand under the table while nurses checked on little Sophia. Emmanuel's mind spun with flashbacks to the fight at home, his father yelling that a real man would date girls and carry on the family name, his mother crying in the background, begging him to pray the gay away. Now here he was, a gay teen barely scraping by on minimum wage, deciding to care for a child he had no legal claim to. The social worker assigned to the case, a kind woman named Carla, explained that without parents they would place Sophia in foster care unless someone stepped up temporarily. Emmanuel signed the papers before he could second-guess himself, his heart pounding as he held Sophia again, her tiny fingers wrapping around his thumb. Dominic stayed the night, helping Emmanuel carry the baby home to his tiny studio apartment, the one he paid for with his deli job after his family stopped supporting him. They set up a makeshift crib from a laundry basket and soft towels, Dominic running out at dawn to buy formula and diapers with his own money. As the sun rose over the Brooklyn rooftops, Emmanuel stared at Sophia sleeping peacefully and felt a surge of protectiveness he had never known. This child needed him, and in that moment he realized he needed her too, to fill the emptiness his family's rejection had left. But deep down he knew the road ahead would test every part of him, his love for Dominic, his fear of prejudice, and the moral weight of choosing between blood ties he never had and the family he was building right now. Dominic kissed his forehead softly, whispering, "We will figure this out together," but Emmanuel could already sense the storm coming, the whispers from neighbors, the questions from his boss, and the inevitable call from his parents when word got out. By mid-morning, Carla returned with temporary custody papers warning that the state would search for relatives and any claim could override his role. Emmanuel nodded, holding Sophia close, his inner voice screaming that no amount of money or status could replace the love he already felt pouring out for this innocent life. Dominic left for his classes at community college, promising to return after his shift at the community center, where he volunteered as a youth counselor, helping other LGBTQ teens navigate family rejection. Alone with Sophia, Emmanuel rocked her gently, whispering stories of his own childhood in a strict Latino household where being different meant being invisible. He wondered if he was selfish for keeping her, but every time she cooed, his doubts melted. The day passed in a blur of feedings and diaper changes and quiet moments where Emmanuel allowed himself to dream of a future where he and Dominic raised her together away from judgment. But as evening fell, his phone rang, his mother's number flashing on the screen. He answered, knowing the conversation would force him to confront the first of many painful choices. She cried, asking what he was thinking, bringing a baby into his unstable life, begging him to give the child up before he ruined his chances at redemption. Emmanuel hung up, tears streaming down his face, but his resolve hardened. This was his stand, his first real act of choosing love over fear. Dominic returned that night carrying groceries, and they shared a simple meal on the floor, laughing softly as Sophia gurgled between them. In those hours, Emmanuel felt the spark of something deeper with Dominic, a partnership built on shared secrets and now shared responsibility. Yet he could not shake the nagging worry that their hidden relationship might crumble under the weight of public scrutiny if word spread about the gay teen raising an abandoned baby. As they prepared for bed, Dominic pulled him close and said, "Whatever comes next, we face it together." Emmanuel nodded, but inside he knew the price of this decision would be higher than either of them could imagine, setting the stage for betrayals, heartbreaks, and awakenings that would redefine family for all of them. The next morning brought the first hint of trouble when a neighbor knocked asking about the baby, and Emmanuel realized his secret life was about to become very public very fast. He closed the door, heart racing, already calculating the cost of his choice but unwilling to turn back. Emmanuel woke to Sophia's soft cries at dawn, his body aching from the lumpy couch he had given Dominic for the night. He lifted her gently, feeding her the formula Dominic had prepared the night before, while his mind replayed the neighbors' curious questions from the previous evening. Word would spread fast in their tight-knit Brooklyn building, and with it would come the stares, the whispers, and the judgment he had spent years dodging. Dominic stirred from the couch, rubbing his eyes, and immediately joined him in the small kitchen, their shoulders brushing in the cramped space, a silent reminder of the intimacy they shared in secret. They talked quietly over coffee, Dominic sharing stories from his volunteer work at the center, where he counseled teens facing the same family pressures Emmanuel knew all too well. As a 21-year-old studying social work, Dominic had his own scars from a conservative upbringing in upstate New York, where his parents still sent him Bible verses every Sunday, hoping he would find a nice girl. Yet here he was building a life with Emmanuel, one careful step at a time. By 9 o'clock, Carla, the social worker, arrived with more paperwork explaining that no relatives had been located yet, but the search was ongoing and temporary custody could last weeks or months depending on the courts. Emmanuel signed every line, his hands steady, but his stomach twisting at the thought of losing Sophia if blood family appeared. Dominic offered to take the day off, but Emmanuel insisted he go to class, promising to call if anything changed. Alone again, Emmanuel took Sophia for a walk in the park, pushing the borrowed stroller from the building manager, his eyes scanning every face for signs of danger or disapproval. A group of mothers smiled at first, then their expressions shifted when they overheard him on the phone with his boss explaining why he needed time off work. The afternoon brought the first real confrontation when his mother showed up at the apartment door unannounced, her eyes red from crying. She demanded to see the baby, calling it a mistake that would ruin his life and the family name. Emmanuel stood his ground, explaining that Sophia had no one else and that he felt called to protect her. His mother left in tears, warning that his father would cut all ties permanently if he continued this path. The word stung, but Emmanuel closed the door and held Sophia closer, whispering that chosen family could be stronger than blood. Dominic returned in the evening with takeout and news from his counselor friends that local media had picked up the story of the heroic teen who rescued an abandoned infant. Emmanuel froze, realizing the exposure could bring both help and harm. They spent the night researching foster laws and adoption processes. Dominic's laptop opened between them, their fingers intertwined as they made lists of what they would need to prove Emmanuel was fit. Inner doubts flooded Emmanuel as he lay awake later, questioning if a gay teen with no college degree and strained family ties could truly provide the stability Sophia deserved. Yet every time he looked at her peaceful face, the answer felt clear: love was the foundation, and he would fight for it. The next day brought a call from the hospital, a nurse revealing that the locket Sophia wore had a hidden engraving inside with the initials RH and a partial address in Manhattan. Dominic's eyes widened when Emmanuel shared the news, suggesting they investigate carefully to avoid losing custody. Together they visited the address, finding an empty luxury condo with no answers but a doorman who mentioned the Harrington family, a name that sent chills down Emmanuel's spine as he recalled news stories of their vast real estate empire. Back home, the weight of possible wealth attached to Sophia hit him hard, creating the first moral crack in his resolve. Was he keeping her out of pure love or selfish fear of loneliness? Dominic reassured him, but Emmanuel could see the same questions in his boyfriend's eyes. As the week progressed, social services scheduled a home visit, and Emmanuel cleaned the apartment obsessively while Dominic coached him on answers to their questions about his support system and plans for childcare. The visit went smoothly, but the caseworker noted the need for a stable partner or family network, raising the issue of Emmanuel's secret relationship. That night, Dominic and Emmanuel talked openly for the first time about coming out together to fight for Sophia. The decision felt right, yet terrifying, knowing it could cost Dominic his own family ties and scholarship support. The following morning, a lawyer from the Harrington estate contacted Carla, revealing that Sophia was their missing granddaughter, the sole heir to billions after a tragic car accident that killed her parents. The news exploded in Emmanuel's mind, creating immediate panic. The Harringtons wanted her back immediately, and they had the resources to make it happen. Dominic held him as he broke down the reality sinking in that his found family was about to collide with one built on money and power. Yet in that moment, Emmanuel made his first firm decision. He would not hand Sophia over without a fight, no matter the cost. The confrontation with the Harrington lawyers was scheduled for the end of the week, and as Emmanuel rocked Sophia to sleep, he vowed to protect her innocence from the world that had abandoned her. Dominic stayed late that night, their conversation turning to the future. They both wanted a life where love trumped legacy. But deep inside, Emmanuel felt the first seeds of doubt about whether Dominic was truly ready to stand beside him when the wealthy family turned their full force against them. The days blur into a tense preparation, with Emmanuel quitting his deli job to focus on Sophia and Dominic cutting back classes to help. Family pressure mounted as Emmanuel's father left voicemails full of anger and disappointment. Societal whispers grew as neighbors learned of the story, some offering support, others spreading rumors about the gay teen playing house. Through it all, Emmanuel's inner conflict deepened, the moral question of whether wealth could buy happiness, or if his love was enough, waging war in his heart. By the end of the week, as they prepared for the meeting with the Harringtons, Emmanuel knew the real battle was just beginning, one that would test every bond and force choices that could break them all. The Manhattan law firm lobby gleamed with marble and money as Emmanuel clutched Sophia's carrier, his palms sweaty despite the cool air. Dominic stood beside him, offering a discreet squeeze of support before they entered the conference room where the Harrington lawyers waited. The lead attorney, a sharp woman in a tailored suit, introduced the family patriarch Robert Harrington, a silver-haired man in his 60s whose eyes softened only when they landed on Sophia. He explained the tragic story: his daughter and son-in-law killed in a private jet crash, the baby handed to a nanny who vanished with her during the chaos. DNA tests ordered by the state confirmed the match. Sophia was Isabella Harrington, the sole heir to an empire worth billions. Robert offered Emmanuel a generous settlement to walk away, quietly framing it as the best chance for the child's future, with private schools and security. Emmanuel listened, his chest tight, the moral dilemma hitting hard. Was he depriving Sophia of a life of privilege by holding on, or was he saving her from a cold world of nannies and boardrooms? Dominic spoke up calmly, pointing out that love and stability mattered more than money, but the lawyers countered with questions about Emmanuel's income, his housing, and his undisclosed relationship. The meeting ended with a court date set for custody, and Emmanuel left feeling both empowered and terrified. Back in Brooklyn, the media frenzy began. Reporters camped outside his building, shouting questions about the gay teen hero and the billionaire baby. Emmanuel's parents called again, his father demanding he take the money and restore family honor, his mother pleading for him to think of the child's future. The pressure built inside him like a storm as he paced the apartment, Sophia in his arms. Dominic arrived after dodging reporters, his own family having seen the news and sent angry texts questioning his involvement. Their evening was spent reviewing legal options, Dominic using his social work connections to find a pro bono lawyer experienced in LGBTQ custody cases. The lawyer warned them that prejudice could sway the judge and that proving Emmanuel's fitness would require full transparency about his life, including his relationship with Dominic. That night, as they lay on the couch, Emmanuel confessed his deepest fear, that he was being selfish keeping Sophia when the Harringtons could give her everything. Dominic countered with stories from his center of kids who thrived in loving but modest homes versus those lost in wealth without affection. The conversation brought them closer, but also highlighted the strain their secret was under. The next day, Emmanuel faced his boss at the deli, who fired him citing the media distraction but offered well wishes. With no income, he relied on Dominic's savings, creating another layer of guilt. Social services visited again, noting the positive bond but questioning long-term plans. Emmanuel's inner turmoil peaked as he journaled late at night, weighing the right choice: love versus security. A betrayal surfaced when one of Dominic's college friends leaked details of their relationship to a tabloid, the story twisting into sensational headlines about the gay couple fighting billionaires for a baby. Dominic confronted the friend in anger, but the damage was done, his parents cutting off financial support in response. Emmanuel comforted him, feeling the weight of shared sacrifice. The Harringtons upped their offer, doubling the settlement and promising visitation, but Emmanuel refused, sensing their interest was more about controlling the heir than genuine love. Court preparations intensified, with character witnesses lined up, including Dominic's supervisor and neighbors who had seen Emmanuel's care. Yet prejudice reared its head when a conservative group filed an amicus brief arguing against a gay household. Emmanuel's family publicly disavowed him in a local interview, deepening the emotional wound. Through sleepless nights, he questioned his decisions, but holding Sophia grounded him. Dominic proposed they move in together officially to strengthen their case, but Emmanuel hesitated, fearing it would accelerate the backlash. The week ended with a private meeting where Robert Harrington appealed directly to Emmanuel as a father figure himself, admitting past mistakes with his daughter. The conversation humanized the man, but also revealed his controlling nature. Emmanuel left torn but resolute. As the court date neared, the rising tension tested their bond, Dominic admitting his fear of losing everything, while Emmanuel grappled with the price of his stand. The story spread nationwide, sparking debates on chosen family and the role of wealth in child rearing. Emmanuel found strength in messages from other LGBTQ parents, but the isolation grew. In quiet moments, he whispered to Sophia that no fortune could replace the safety of unconditional love. Dominic's support never wavered, but Emmanuel sensed the cracks forming under the pressure. The moral conflict deepened as he considered if letting go would be the greater act of love or the ultimate betrayal of the bond they had forged. Courtroom 1 buzzed with tension as Emmanuel sat at the table, with his pro bono lawyer Dominic beside him for moral support, though not yet publicly acknowledged as partner. The Harrington team filled the opposite side with Robert at the center, his face a mask of determination. The judge, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s, opened by acknowledging the unusual case and the media circus outside. Evidence unfolded with DNA confirmation, the nanny's confession from custody in another state, and testimonies about Emmanuel's heroic rescue. His lawyer highlighted the stable bond, the home visits, and character letters from community members. The Harringtons presented their case with financial statements, private school plans, and security details, arguing superior resources. Cross-examination turned pointed when they questioned Emmanuel's sexual orientation, his lack of family support, and ability to provide for a child with special needs as heir. Emmanuel took the stand, his voice steady as he described the night he found Sophia, the instant connection, and his daily acts of care. He spoke from the heart about growing up under pressure to hide his true self, how Sophia had given him purpose. The room fell silent when he admitted the moral struggle of weighing love against wealth. Dominic testified next, revealing their relationship and his commitment to co-parenting, the judge noting the honesty but cautioning on stability. Backlash hit immediately as news outlets live tweeted the revelation, Emmanuel's phone flooding with hateful messages and supportive ones in equal measure. His parents arrived unannounced after the session, his father shouting in the hallway about shame, while his mother begged him to reconsider. Emmanuel walked away, heart heavy but head high. That evening in their apartment, Dominic and Emmanuel held each other, processing the day, the betrayal of the leaked relationship still raw. Dominic confessed his own inner conflict about being thrust into the spotlight, his career dreams now tangled with custody battle. They discussed trade-offs, Dominic offering to drop out temporarily to help full-time, Emmanuel refusing to let him sacrifice so much. The next hearing brought character attacks, the Harringtons calling witnesses who painted Emmanuel as unstable due to his recent family estrangement. His lawyer countered with experts on attachment theory, emphasizing that early bonds like the one with Sophia could not be bought. Emmanuel's internal voice raged with doubt during breaks, questioning if he was fighting for the right reasons or clinging out of fear. A private lunch with Robert revealed more about the family dynamics, the man admitting regret over pushing his daughter away for her choices. The conversation planted seeds of empathy, but also suspicion when Robert hinted at generous trusts if Emmanuel stepped aside. Back home, Sophia's giggles lightened the mood, but the weight lingered. Dominic's family sent a final ultimatum, disowning him unless he distanced himself from the case. The sacrifice hit hard as Dominic deleted their messages, tears in his eyes. Emmanuel comforted him, realizing the parallel to his own loss. The week built to a mediation session where offers flew back and forth, Emmanuel rejecting each one, his resolve fueled by daily moments with Sophia. Prejudice surfaced in online petitions against gay custody, sparking counter campaigns from LGBTQ advocates. Emmanuel read the comments late at night, the positive ones giving hope, the negative ones deepening his psychological scars. Dominic suggested therapy for both of them to navigate the stress, the sessions revealing layers of internalized shame from years of hiding. As the court day for ruling approached, Emmanuel made a pivotal decision to publicly come out in a statement to the media, framing it as standing for love and chosen family. The move brought more support but also death threats, forcing them to install better locks. In quiet reflection, Emmanuel confronted the core moral question: was he depriving Sophia of her birthright or giving her the greatest gift of all, unconditional acceptance? Dominic stood by him, their love strengthening amid the chaos, but Emmanuel sensed the toll it was taking on his partner. The final arguments in court lasted hours, the judge promising a swift decision. Leaving the building hand in hand for the first time publicly, Emmanuel felt exposed yet free, the price of authenticity heavy but necessary. That night they celebrated small victories with Sophia, the three of them a makeshift family against the world. Yet the awakening was beginning for Emmanuel, the realization that fighting for her meant accepting the losses along the way, family ties, career stability, and perhaps even parts of his relationship if Dominic could not endure. The stage was set for deeper betrayals, and the ultimate test of what family truly meant. The judge's chambers felt smaller than the courtroom as the ruling was read. Temporary custody extended to Emmanuel, with supervised visitation for the Harringtons and a 6-month review. Cheers erupted from supporters outside, but Robert Harrington's team immediately filed an appeal. Emmanuel hugged Dominic tightly, the victory bittersweet, knowing the battle was far from over. Back in Brooklyn, they celebrated with a small cake, Sophia gurgling, happily unaware of the storm. Media coverage intensified positive stories about the gay teen dad clashing with tabloid attacks on his fitness. Emmanuel's deli boss rehired him part-time, but with conditions: no media on premises. Dominic took on extra shifts at the center, his own studies suffering from the distraction. The first visitation with the Harringtons went smoothly, Robert doting on Sophia, but his lawyers pushing for more access. Emmanuel agreed to some terms but held firm on overnight stays. Inner conflict raged as he watched Robert interact with her, the wealth gap evident in the expensive toys brought. Was he denying her opportunities or protecting her soul? Dominic noticed the doubt and suggested a weekend getaway to a friend's cabin upstate to recharge. The trip brought much-needed peace, walks in the woods, quiet talks about the future, and intimate moments that reaffirmed their bond. Yet upon return, reality crashed with a call from Emmanuel's sister, revealing their father had suffered a mild heart attack, possibly stress related to the family scandal. Guilt flooded Emmanuel. He visited the hospital alone, his father refusing to see him, but his mother pulling him aside for a tearful plea to end the fight. The encounter left him shattered, questioning if his stand was worth the family fractures. Back home, Dominic listened, patiently sharing his own recent call from his parents, offering reconciliation if he left Emmanuel. The moral dilemma hit both men hard, the price of love measured in broken relationships. As weeks passed, the appeal process dragged with new evidence, the Harringtons claiming Emmanuel's living situation was inadequate. Home improvements were made with help from community donations sparked by the media story. Prejudice continued in the form of anonymous complaints to social services about the gay household, but each visit ended positively. Emmanuel started a journal documenting daily joys with Sophia, the small milestones that reinforced his choice. Dominic proposed they formalize their relationship with a commitment ceremony. Once the case settled, the idea of bringing hope amid the chaos. Yet a betrayal loomed when Dominic received a job offer from a firm connected to the Harringtons, a conflict he disclosed immediately. The offer was tempting financial security for their future, but it risked the case. After long discussions, Dominic turned it down, but the temptation planted seeds of doubt in Emmanuel about whether Dominic regretted the sacrifices. The psychological strain showed in arguments over small things like budget and time, but they always reconciled with Sophia as the anchor. Societal pressure mounted when a local church group protested outside their building, calling for traditional family values. Emmanuel addressed them calmly from the window, sharing his story, the moment going viral and shifting public opinion slightly. In therapy sessions, Emmanuel unpacked his fear of abandonment, linking it to his coming-out experience and the current fight. Dominic did the same, confronting his internalized homophobia from years of hiding. The awakening was gradual for both, the understanding that true family was built on choice, not obligation. As the review date neared, Emmanuel made another difficult decision to allow more Harrington involvement, including a supervised weekend with them, to show good faith. The separation was agony, but Sophia returned smiling with new clothes and stories. Robert thanked Emmanuel privately, admitting respect for his fight. The gesture humanized the conflict but did not sway the legal battle. Dominic's family reached out again with a surprise visit, his mother meeting Sophia and softening slightly. Small bridges formed, but the core tensions remained. Emmanuel reflected nightly on the trade-offs: his lost family support, his strained finances, his tested relationship, all weighed against the love in Sophia's eyes. The rising action built toward the final hearing with new witnesses and emotional testimonies planned. In a quiet moment, Dominic confessed his love and commitment, no matter the outcome, the words giving Emmanuel strength. Yet deep inside, the moral questions persisted. Was fighting for custody the right path, or would letting go be the ultimate sacrifice for Sophia's best life? The story continued to divide opinions, online forums debating gay parenting, wealth, and family rights. Emmanuel read them all, finding solidarity in similar stories. As the climax approached, he prepared for the ultimate confrontation, the one that would force every character to face the price of their choices. The final hearing opened with high stakes, the judge reviewing all evidence from both sides. Emmanuel took the stand again, his voice stronger now, detailing the growth Sophia had brought to his life, and the support network he and Dominic had built. The Harringtons presented financial experts and child psychologists, arguing for the benefits of their resources. Cross-examinations turned heated when Emmanuel's lawyer exposed attempts to influence witnesses. During a recess, Robert pulled Emmanuel aside for a frank talk, admitting his initial approach was wrong and offering a compromised joint custody with Emmanuel as primary. The gesture surprised him, creating a new moral layer: was compromise betrayal or wisdom? Dominic supported exploring it, but Emmanuel hesitated, fearing loss of control. Back in session, the judge asked pointed questions about prejudice and best interests. The room tense. A surprise witness, Emmanuel's mother, testified about his character, her words a mix of love and regret moving the gallery. The day ended without ruling, the judge taking time to deliberate. In the following days, the betrayal Emmanuel feared surfaced when Dominic received pressure from his old college advisor, linked to Harrington donors suggesting he distance himself for career advancement. Dominic refused, but the incident strained their trust, temporarily Emmanuel confronting him about hidden doubts. They worked through it with honest talks, Dominic reaffirming his choice. Family pressure peaked when Emmanuel's father showed up at the apartment demanding a private conversation. The man broke down, admitting his own fears and prejudices, the moment a turning point toward tentative reconciliation. Dominic's parents followed with a letter expressing conditional support. The small awakenings brought hope, but the legal weight dragged. Media attention waned, but local support grew with fundraisers for legal fees. Emmanuel started part-time college classes online, balancing with childcare, the effort showing his commitment. Sophia's first birthday approached, celebrated simply with close friend, the Harringtons invited for a short visit. Robert brought a trust fund document, but Emmanuel deferred discussion, focusing on the party. Inner reflection during the celebration solidified his view that love was the true inheritance. Yet the moral dilemma lingered as he watched Robert interact with her, the wealth tempting, but the emotional distance noticeable. Dominic proposed marriage, the idea thrilling yet complicated by the ongoing case. They decided to wait for the ruling. The judge's decision came via email, extended joint custody with Emmanuel primary guardian, and the Harringtons granted generous visitation and financial support for her care. Cheers filled their apartment as they read the news, the victory hard won. Robert called, personally congratulating and proposing ongoing cooperation. The aftermath brought peace, but also new challenges adjusting to shared parenting and public life as a gay family. Emmanuel's family slowly re-engaged, his mother visiting regularly. Dominic's parents met for dinner, the conversation awkward but hopeful. The price paid was evident: lost time, strained friendships, and personal growth through pain. Emmanuel's awakening was complete. He understood that family was defined by actions, not blood, and that fighting for love always carried cost but delivered the greatest reward. Dominic, too, transformed his career path, shifting to advocacy for LGBTQ families. Sophia thrived in the blended world, her laughter filling the home. Yet the story did not end neatly as new pressures emerged from managing wealth and expectations. In quiet evenings, Emmanuel and Dominic reflected on the journey, the confrontations, the betrayals, and the choices that shaped them. The experience taught them that every decision carried weight, and the true measure was the love that remained. With custody settled, life shifted into a new rhythm for Emmanuel and Dominic. Mornings began with Sophia's giggles as they prepared breakfast in their upgraded apartment, funded partly by the Harrington Trust for her benefit. Emmanuel enrolled full-time in community college, studying social work, inspired by Dominic's path. The couple navigated co-parenting with Robert, who proved more involved than expected, attending doctor visits and sending thoughtful gifts. Yet tensions simmered when Robert pushed for private schooling earlier than planned, Emmanuel standing firm on normalcy. Dominic balanced his internship with evening classes, their relationship deepening through shared responsibilities. Family gatherings became regular, Emmanuel's parents hosting Sunday dinners where awkward silences gave way to genuine conversations about acceptance. Dominic's family joined occasionally, the healing slow but real. Societal prejudice lingered in subtle ways like stares at the park or online comments, but the couple faced them together, stronger for the battle. A minor betrayal occurred when a former friend sold a story to a blog exaggerating their struggles, but they countered with their own positive posts that went viral. The experience reinforced the need for boundaries. Emmanuel's inner peace grew as he volunteered at Dominic Center, mentoring gay teens facing family issues, his story a beacon of hope. Moral reflections continued in therapy, where he processed the trade-offs: the lost privacy, the financial dependence on the trust, and the emotional labor of blending families. Dominic proposed during a quiet picnic in the park, Sophia playing nearby, the yes coming with tears of joy. Planning the wedding became a family affair, Robert offering the venue, but Emmanuel choosing a simple Brooklyn rooftop to keep it authentic. As the date neared, new conflicts arose, Robert suggesting a prenup tied to Sophia's inheritance, Dominic and Emmanuel discussing the implications openly, the conversation strengthening their trust. The wedding day arrived bright and full of love, friends, family, and even some Harrington relatives present. Vows spoke of chosen paths and enduring love, the ceremony emotional and real. Honeymoon was a short trip to the cabin, where it all began, reflections on the journey filling the nights. Back home, routine resumed with added joy of marriage. Sophia started preschool, her world expanding under the watchful eyes of her two dads and grandfather. Emmanuel graduated with honors, landing a job at a nonprofit for at-risk youth, the full circle moment profound. Dominic advanced in his career, advocating for policy changes. Yet life tested them again when Robert faced health issues, prompting deeper involvement from Emmanuel in family business decisions, the moral weight of wealth management, new territory. Family pressures eased as acceptance grew, but old prejudices surfaced in extended relatives, causing minor rifts. Through it all, the couple prioritized open communication, their bond unbreakable. Emmanuel's final awakening came during a quiet moment watching Sophia play, the realization that the fight was never about winning, but about defining family on their terms. The costs paid: family estrangement, public scrutiny, personal doubts were worth the life they built. Dominic echoed the sentiment in late-night talks, their love the foundation. The story of the gay teen who found a baby had become legend in their community, inspiring many. As months turned to years, the blended family thrived, proof that love and choice could overcome societal barriers and moral dilemmas. The journey had transformed each character, Robert learning humility, Emmanuel embracing strength, Dominic finding courage. In the end, the price was paid, but the reward was a family forged in fire and unbreakable. Years later, Emmanuel stood in the backyard of their new home in the suburbs, watching Sophia, now 8, chase butterflies, her laughter echoing the joy that started it all. Dominic joined him hand in hand, their wedding rings glinting in the sunlight. Robert visited often, the grandfather role suiting him as he shared stories of the empire, now managed with Emmanuel's input on charitable foundations. The family gathered for barbecues, Emmanuel's parents and Dominic's blending seamlessly, the old wounds healed through time and effort. Reflections on the past filled quiet conversations the night Emmanuel found Sophia, the court battles, the betrayals, and the choices that defined them. Emmanuel had risen to lead a nonprofit for LGBTQ families, Dominic heading policy initiatives at a national level. Sophia thrived, excelling in school and arts, aware of her unique story, but grounded in love. The moral dilemmas of those early days seemed distant, yet their lessons endured, the importance of fighting for what is right, even when the cost is high. A final confrontation came when a distant relative challenged the trust terms, but the family united and prevailed, the victory affirming their bond. As they celebrated another milestone, Emmanuel looked at his chosen family, the one built on sacrifice and awakening, and felt profound gratitude. The journey had proven that blood did not define belonging, love did. In the end, the decisions, controversies, and prices paid had led to a life richer than any fortune. Was it right for Emmanuel to fight so fiercely for the baby he found, or should he have let the wealthy family claim her from the start, true or false?